Greetings. Today is October the 1st, 2024, as I record this and release this video. Today, October the 1st, well, many things are happening. The usual births and deaths and suicides, kids playing truant from school, car crashes, train crashes, robberies. I mean, the usual. But apart from that, something else is happening, and I thought I would share it with you. It is the release of my new book, Mundus Grundy and the Ignoble Goblin Invasion. What many people don't actually realize about me is that actually I'm quite funny. You know, I write a lot of serious books about the world and stuff, but really deep down at heart, I'm a funny guy. Doopy 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 doop. I'm also very bad at self-promotion. But hey, you know. Anyway, so I'll try and do my best or semi-best in trying to, kind of point towards this book. I mean, not just with my finger, but I mean, generally. So what I will say is that it's not a new book. It's new as in it's kind of like freshly printed, smells new, but it's not new as in I didn't just write it now. I must confess, and sometimes I do, not always in confession boxes. The book originally was released in 2015 called Mundus Grundy, Trouble in Grundisland. And it was published with a small UK publisher, which typical with publishing industry these days, they didn't do anything with the book, nothing. So after a few years, I managed to get my copyright back because, as authors know, they give away their copyright to the publishing industry. Another story. So I got the copyright back in 2020, and then I decided that when all the furor, craziness in the world, after a few years of that, I would re-release the book. So I have done. I've re-edited it, made it a bit fresher, and I've given it a new title, Mundus Grundy and the Ignoble Goblin Invasion. Got a new cover made, kind of like more attention-seeking cover. And wow, what a book. It's for young adults. It's for probably maybe kids probably like 8 years and over, and also for adults who are also young kids inside, because as I often try and do, I try and slip in jokes in there. So there's humor for older kids, young adults, and also for older adults with young kids inside of them. There's a bit of humor on all levels. Not that you'll probably get it anyway. So rather than read from the book and obviously spoil the enjoyment for you when you actually read it yourself live, I'm just going to read from the appendix, because the appendix gives all the terms that I used in the book. And in fact, the appendix is called BOGLE because it stands for the Book of Gnomes, Gnome Life and Experience. So these are some of the terms used in the book from BOGLE. Big fellow, a human being of the third realm. CBE, contract for all beings on Earth. EGM, executive gnome meeting. GI, the law of gnome inheritance. Gnome head, a gnome idiot. Gnomocracy, the open style democracy as practiced by gnomes. GPS, gnome positioning system. GRAIL, GRALE, stands for Gnome Rescue and Liberation Expedition, known also as a Holy Grail. GRODA, Gnome Rule of Direct Action. Grundisland Anthem, usually sang at important gnome gatherings such as the EGM. GWID Law stands for Gnome When in Doubt Law, Hog, holy oath of a gnome. Huffalot, a miserable gnome. Hurdy-gurdy, a gnome working song for fixing energy disturbances. LRG, light reflecting goggles. Matrinome, a silver-colored instrument for measuring energy balance. Nobby gnomes, what gnomes say when playing tricks or teasing. Smecker, also what gnomes say when playing tricks and teasing. And stone gnome, a gnome caught or seen by humans, and they are turned to stone. Back again. So rather than give the game away, but I will tell you that in Grundus land, it's obviously the land of the gnomes, and Mundus Grundy is the king of Grundus land, and he has his deputy Bargagit, his friends Fender Tart, and Lomper and Jumper, and Surly, the lady gnome. And Mundus Grundy has his queen, his wife, so Horny Grundy, she's called. And so the Grail, the gnome rescue and liberation expedition, is when the gnomes go into the third realm where the humans live. Now, the gnomes and the goblins and the imps and the sprites and the divas all used to live with humans in the same realm. But of course, humans started to disbelieve in the existence of these other entities, and that used to cause a problem with their reality set, because humans have a very kind of set reality, don't like anyone messing with their tunnel vision. So eventually it was decided that these other entities and gnomes and goblins and sprites and divas and imps would be moved to another realm called the second realm. And so another law to preserve the tunnel vision reality set of the humans was that, of course, they don't believe in gnomes. Silly humans. So if the gnomes have to enter the human realm, the third realm, to fix energy disturbances, they work with nature, and they try to keep everything on track. You can see, obviously, the state of the world since we disbelieved in gnomes. But of course, if a gnome gets seen by a human, then they turn to stone. They become a stone gnome, which is why we see a lot of stone gnomes in people's gardens, because they got caught, they got seen. And so, of course, turning to stone doesn't disturb the humans' belief system, because they don't see him alive. So then the gnomes have to set up a holy grail, the gnome rescue and liberation expedition, to go inside the third realm of the humans to go and get the gnome and bring it back and de-stone the stone gnome. No, that's how things begin. Regular kind of life. But of course, then the pesky stinky finger goblins have a plan to take over Grundus land, but they need some resources from the human realm. So Farnoktam, the goblin leader, decides to, with his deputy Peasley Greel, they decide to launch a kind of invasion of the human realm to get the resources they need. It's a laugh-a-thon, if you can call it that. Well, actually, I'll tell you from the mouth directly. I can tell you that Mundus Grundy says here, it's on the book, so it must be true. He says, a rip-racing yarn that doesn't let you stop for breath, and it's all true. Now, if Mundus Grundy says it's a rip-racing yarn, then it must be. A king of gnomes wouldn't lie. And then Farnoktam, the self-appointed goblin king, says, what a load of stinking nonsense. It didn't happen like that at all. Don't believe a word of those fairy-loving, tree-hugging gnomes. Farnoktam. Yeah, it's a goblin. So there you go. Bumpty 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 bum. It's, as I said, it's a laugh-a-thon, tickle a minute kind of book. Actually, I've written a few novels and books that I haven't really talked about. Maybe I should talk about them in another video. That'll annoy you, wouldn't it, if I made another video of these books, these novels and that, and And I've written some other funny books and science fiction and that, but hey ho. Um, I guess promotion's over. You can go now. Just remember, hypnotize, hypnotize. Mundus Grundy and the ignoble Goblin invasion. It makes a great gift for yourself, for others, for if you have uh, naughty children. Um, you know, Santa Claus loves this book. He told me so himself. I mean, he was drunk at the time, but there you go. Um, Finger pointing time, finger pointing, and I'll leave this video with my finger pointing exercise.